Hello Flosstube, my name is Laura and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross stitch with a little bit of paper crafting thrown in too. Now today we have an extra video, as you can tell by the title. I am going to do my flip through of the summer 2025 Just Cross Stitch magazine, and I hope you will come along on this little creative ride with me as we flip through the magazine and see what is here. So this summer issue is currently, I believe, out on newsstands. So if you're out and about and you like what you see, then it might be fun to pick it up. And of course, I'm sure there's lots of places where you can order online as well. So let's just dive right in and see what we see. I would love to have a chat and conversation of what you like, maybe some ideas you've thought about these. If you've not watched one of my flip throughs before, I will say that I do them slightly differently. I think all of these patterns and all the designers in here are so incredibly talented and wonderful. And when I talk about how I would change them, it's not taking anything away from that. I just happen to look at the patterns in the magazines and say, how would they fit for me? How can I use them a little differently? How can I maybe stitch something that looking at it there, I might not stitch, but might be just perfect for me in a different way. So that's what we kind of do here when we do the flip throughs. So grab something to stitch or maybe just hang out and let's do a quick flip through on this. Quick being an opportune word sometimes with me. Alrighty, so this first one is called Fun in the Sun. I'm trying to see, I had this big kind of blank spot over here on the walls, so I think maybe that's a great way to be able to hold the magazine to take some of that space up. This is designed by Barbie Lowe from Twisted Willow Designs. And oh good, I can just bring it really up close so you get a chance to see all of these patterns in their full glory. So this is just a sweet kind of fun piece that highlights pretty much everything that you could do or possibly want to do or see or have fun with in the summer. So it's really a lot of fun. They did a great job picking a really lovely kind of like colored round frame to balance off all the colors. If I was to stitch this, I might do it a little bit differently and stitch it on a light blue fabric. I think that would be a lot of fun. I also could see stitching this, and then maybe you're having a whole bunch of summer adventures. Maybe it's with kids or grandchildren or nieces and nephews or just friends or however it happens to be, and you, whether it's a specific vacation or it's just a summer-long adventure, how fun would this be to have like a summer scrapbook? Have this be maybe the front of your scrapbook page, and then just have pages of pictures and journaling prompts or things that you could talk about how you spent your summer. Maybe use this as like a summer bucket list. I used to do that when my kids were younger. We'd have a list of things that we want to do over the summer, some that were maybe easy to get to, some not, and then we would just check them off as we would go. So how fun would that be too, if you kind of did that and then maybe stitched some of these smaller and have pictures of you or whoever is participating in it, and have those right next to the pictures, and have a wonderful memory of this summer with this beautiful little scrapbook that you could do and just pick and choose and do all sorts of items or keep it as a whole. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't have a summer list of things that I want to do this year. I might have to think about what it is I want to do. All right, so this next piece right here is called Waterfront View. I think most of us look at that and say, wouldn't that be a lovely way to spend a summer? Right there with that view every single day, stitching away. This is artwork adapted for cross stitch by Le Petit Croix de Lucie. And no, I know I don't say it right, but I just pretend and then go on from there. This one is a full coverage piece. So of course that means it really doesn't matter what your base fabric is. Probably something light would be good. So this way, if anything kind of shone through, it really wouldn't take away from the picture in and of itself. There is a moderate amount of back stitch, so that's one thing to look out for. And there are French knots in this piece as well. And I think they really picked a lovely kind of weathered sort of frame to go with this, which is kind of a lot of fun there, so that they can kind of give that whole feeling, especially when you look at maybe the steps and the outdoors with the sand, and that gives it that weathered look there. And the piece itself is 126 by 95. So this was stitched on a 28 count / 14, right? And that made it 9 by 6 and 3/8, 3/4. And these are my reading glasses. You could stitch it on a different count, 16, 18, 20, 22, whatever, and make it smaller and make it a nice little, stitch that's tucked in, maybe framed and tucked in somewhere really nice. I think that would be a lot of fun. Alrighty. This magazine, this time around, I found was really interesting in how they finished things. I've been doing the flip throughs now for probably a year. It might have started in the summer of 2024. And they've always been creative in how they finish, but I find that this time there's new things that I have not seen for the most part in the flip through so far. So that's a lot of fun. Now this one right here does have a post-it note to cover up the pattern right here basically. Otherwise, we can just bring it up close so that you can see. There we go. This is called Seaside Suncatchers, and it is designed by, oh, I meant to look, Elizabeth Spurlock of Saving Grace's Fine Needle Arts, and they're using, it said perforated plastic canvas. I'm sure you could use perforated paper if you would like, versus, I don't know when they say perforated plastic canvas, if they mean the really heavy duty plastic canvas or the perforated paper. I think either one would be fine. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell if I bring the picture up close. All three of these have beads within them. They use the Mill Hill seed beads on these, and they did stitch it on, what count did they stitch this on? Oh, it's a 14 count is what it is. So the Mill Hill seed beads can be used, or you could just use either regular floss or maybe some étoile if you wanted sparkle, or some sort of metallic-y sort of floss too, if you just want sparkle and you don't want to fiddle with the beads. If you like using beads, then that's a lot of fun too. Now, I could see these also being done on fabric. How fun would this one be as a bookmark? You know, maybe if you could get maybe like a fabric that's printed that has kind of oceany or sea look to it, and then you stitch this on it. I think that would be so much fun. Or just even like a beach background and stitch any of these with that, although this guy would be more in the water than on the beach. But you could use these kind of like a beachy background of fabric and then make little pillows out of them. How cute would that be if you had a display of maybe some pillows, or I call them leaners. If you look up here and here, these are what I call leaners. A lot of people will make a second layer to them and make them flat folds. I don't bother. I just have them one layer and then I lean them. But you could mix and match these with maybe some shells and some other kind of summer nautically sort of designs and have a nice little display. I think that would be a lot of fun. So there's a lot of different things you can do with these, not just, they call them sun catchers, and part of that is because of all the beads. They probably would reflect and sparkle, but if you did some sort of metallic-y floss, you could also kind of think of it with that idea as well. So that is Seaside Suncatchers. This next one right here is called Fresh Hues. Let me go up here with it. And is designed by Manda Riulian of Infinity Bear Designs. And how sweet and summery is this? It is full coverage, so all of the white that you see is stitched. And then I think, yes, they fringe the edges. So this one was probably stitched just on, yeah, it was just on white because they just have the fringe showing. I mean, you could certainly stitch it on anything if you wanted to fringe just that background and do something that would just look good with these colors. You could also stitch it on, think about like a pale green or a pale blue and have more of the outline showing. I mean, essentially this looks like it's just a repeating pattern. So you could actually make it bigger, or if you wanted to have full strawberries or oranges or lemons, you could do that as well. How wonderful, you could do strawberries, 3 strawberries. You could mix and match strawberry, lemon, strawberry, however you wanted to do it. You could do a set of 2. You could do a set of 1. There's so many different things you could use this for. You're basically, that white outline is the design of each layer. So you can design this however you want to do. So that would be really cute as, you know, maybe 3 rows of strawberries if you wanted a pillow that just highlighted strawberries. Or maybe just the 2 citrus fruits, you know, lemon, orange, lemon. And that would be kind of fun. And depending on what you do, might change out what color fabric you want with it. And you can make it a cute little pillow. I think that would be fun. Single or double row, you can wrap it around something. That would also be fun as well. I'd be cute as like a little bag and have this be the front of the little, maybe like a plastic, a canvas bag, I'm sorry. And use maybe like a waste canvas and stitch it onto a canvas bag. That would be super cute. Lots of different options. And that's what's so fun about these patterns is to kind of look at them in so many different ways. And then you find that one pattern, you can stitch it 5 different ways and just do all sorts of fun stuff with it. This next one is called Yummy, and it is designed by Elle Noonan of Stitch Sprout. And I just thought this was the sweetest design out there. Sweet was just, no pun intended, but sweet was the first word that came to my head. I find it very cute on the purple. I could also see it on a really fun yellow fabric. Depending on your ice cream flavors, you could change out the colors. So there's 2 shades, a light and a dark, for example, here and here. So depending on what color you wanted, you could just change those out and just pick a light and a dark. You wouldn't be limited to just those colors. I could see this easily if you don't want to put the words yummy in, you could take those out, maybe make it a little bit smaller, make it more of a rectangular pillow if you would prefer. What else did I think about doing this? Oh, we can stitch them singly. And again, that's where you can have a lot of fun doing the different colors of ice creams if you wanted to, and have cute little single stand-ups or like leaners or little pillows. That would be adorable too. Maybe you're having a fun little summer party and you want just some sweet little kind of summer treats, and that's going to go with something else and a couple other things actually, and you could have kind of a whole like centerpiece display of all of these different summer treats. Hold that thought as I show you a couple more items here. They all could work really well together, and you could have probably the sweetest centerpiece, again, no pun intended, you ever had at a fun little summer party. So this next one here is called Sip Sip Hooray, and it is from Kate Spiridonova of Cute Embroidery by Kate. So here we have 3 different summer drinks. Really fun here. I could see these being stitched on pale blue. You'll find me saying that a lot this magazine. When I did my first initial thoughts, when I flipped through these several times before I even make notes. I like to look at it once, just completely without any thoughts or ideas about it, just like in the sense of, let me just see what's in there. And then I flip through again and I start to think about, what do I think about how I would do each of these patterns? And then I go through again and I make more extensive notes, which is then what I look at when I talk to you about these things. So I've really thought these out when it comes time to talk about these with you. Again, each one of these could be stitched as singles, or you could do a set of 2 versus a set of 3. You can do like pink, yellow, pink if you didn't want 3 different colors, or however you wanted your color scheme to be. Again, singly. So think about it, if you had like these cute little summer treats, maybe you have those as single pillows or stand-ups. I'll say leaners, knowing that you could also make flat folds out of any of them, or some sort of stand-up itself. If you've seen, that idea, if you take the placeholders that are flat, and if there was a way then to slide the stitch between the stitch piece and the backing, and then they could be just standing up as well and have them in and among a whole summer centerpiece display. That would be a lot of fun too. So you could have the ice cream cones, and then you could have the different sweet drinks. And then let's flip over and let's talk about this next one. These are going to be called Cool Treats, and they are designed by Kathleen Burlow. Now, when you're looking at them, you are seeing like zipper pulls or earrings. Oops, I'm trying to make sure it shows the magazine and not me here. Now, the zipper pull and the earrings are essentially kind of the same. We've got ice cream cones and we've got popsicles. It's just stitched in different, different ways. For the zipper pulls, you do have to stitch the top part here, and the design shows the flip side as well. And so you stitch all of that. These are stitched on plastic canvas, both the earrings and the pulls. I could see them being stitched on a plastic canvas or, again, a perforated paper. And then how cool if you add little cut down skewers, wooden skewers, and make little picks out of them. So now we have these ice cream cones, and we have popsicles, and we have the other ice cream cones and sweet drinks. So think about pillows, flat folds, stand-ups, picks within different things, and you could have just a really, really fun summer centerpiece or design element somewhere on a table, just really celebrating everything all sweet treats. Taking those 3 patterns within this magazine, these from these 3 designers, and mixing and matching. And then, depending on like the drinks, maybe go back to the one with the strawberries and the oranges and the lemons. And maybe, again, you have little rows or little squares or however you wanted to make it. And then you'd have another fun element you could put part of that. So think about all of these as things that you can weave in together and create some really fun things for your house or for you to enjoy however you want to use them. All right, so this next one is Nature's Journeys Summer. Now, this is part of the 4-part series, as you can tell. The other 3 are kind of grayed out, so to speak. We saw the spring already, and now we're seeing the summer. This fabric right here, I believe, is Into the Veil by Bestitch Me. So I'm looking at it, and, in this color, I'm seeing it as like a pale green, which is beautiful. I could also see it possibly as a pale blue. If you weren't sure, what I would probably do is I would take the DMC. Now, the DMC is listed, I assume, for the whole 4 pieces in any of these issues. So you can pull all of it so you can see what you need. And then pull out some really pale fabrics and do some floss tosses and see which one really speaks to you. And that tells you that's the one you want to do. I think it's really lovely as a framed piece. If I was to put this in, for example, if I had, say, a nature scrapbook or nature and floral or something along those lines, I would have to stitch it on something 22 count or higher, because on 20 count, it's 12.6, and my highest scrapbook goes to 12 by 12. If I wanted to put it on the front of a book display, kind of like a tabletop book display, you could also do that. But if you want to put this in some sort of kind of, think about it as a coffee table book of all of your nature designs, for example. You would have to stitch it on something 22, 25, or even higher, just over 1 on some of those higher numbers, higher, lower numbers, however you want to do it. But it certainly is shaping up to be a very beautiful design. And that, did I say sprouting lupine? I'm sure you know that by now. Several people have started stitching it in the spring, and so it's around there. It's very pretty to see if you just check out some of the stitchers out there. Okay, so this next piece is also something that this has been a year-long piece. Look down here, you'll see the other seasons. So this is a seasonal piece, mini sampler series. This is summer. It's designed by Carrie Powell of Curious Carrie Designs. And as I've said before, I think this would be really fun in a couple different ways. As is, it's super cute. I could easily see taking out the alphabet, and then you could either bring down the clouds and the birds and put them there, or leave them out, however you wanted. I think it'd be really cute as a rectangle, whether you did it as a pillow. Maybe you have it as, say you're going somewhere on vacation and you want a little vacation scrapbook. Stitch that section and make it like a title page, or maybe have this stitching. Maybe you went to the beach one day or you went to a lighthouse, and have it in among those kind of ideas. It could be a page topper for a single page, or it could be a page full of summer cross stitch if you wanted to. So a lot of fun design ideas with that one as well. I do like it on the blue. I think I would keep it on that blue. The next set of pages, it talks about Kreinik and the Kreinik Manufacturing Company. So you can read all about that. Then the next couple pages after that are a Stitcher's Guide to Fabric Organization. You know there's tons of different ways to organize fabric. These are only just some of them. I myself like to use the comic book boards, and I use the little, you know, the little metal, the little plastic kind of things that you'd see on shirts. And that's how and I do it by color. So mine are in little, I'm pointing over this way because that's where they are. They're in fabric squares, and, you know, fabric the fabric baskets that you see, the square baskets in the cubby cubes, and they are by Roy G. Biv, the color, kind of like the rainbow color. Then if we flip through here, we have our inspired sampler section. So this is the section where the designer takes a sampler that they're inspired by, or something they're inspired by. This one's a little different this time around, and they create kind of a modern sampler for it. And this one here is called Honors, and it is designed by Christy Bernstein of Salty Stitcher Designs. And what's really interesting about this is Christy knows what she's talking about when she designed this kind of military inspired piece, because she is an active member of the U.S. Coast Guard. So she knows what she's talking about. And it's really interesting. On the side, on this other page, it talks about the different symbols, militarily wise, what they mean, how they're used. She talks about where this quote comes from. This is part of a longer quote from Alexander Hamilton, who was the founder of the Coast Guard, which I did not realize. So I would really recommend, or not recommend, but I found it fascinating reading her inspiration for this sampler. And I would suggest, if you want to, I think it would be a really interesting read for you as well. So take the time, read it, and then if you're so inclined, you've got a modern sampler to stitch. I think the only thing I would change up, I would not change any of the symbols or the signs, because she's the expert. I am not. So I would not, in this case, change that. But I think my fabric, I would do a little bit more bluish gray. I feel like that would really kind of, given the colors here, I feel like it would really kind of meld really well with the colors chosen. But that's really the only thing I would change in that sense. Really interesting read, though. I enjoyed that. All right, this next one here, again, something a little bit different that we haven't really seen. This is called Old Red. In this magazine, they used quite a bit of plastic canvas. It's kind of a fun thing to try and use. And basically, who designed this one? Frony Ritter of Frony Ritter Designs. So as you can see, you stitch the different parts of it, and then you stitch it all together. And then you have a really cool kind of, I'll say, tabletop piece or something along those lines. You can see here, there's different designs that you're given that you can put inside the truck. So that's really kind of cute. So my thoughts on this, a couple different things. How neat would this be if you had a birthday party or a summer party or something along those lines, and you stitched a bunch of these trucks up, and they were like in and among a centerpiece or in and among different food items, and then fill them with like something, I would say something that is packaged and wrapped, like candies that are wrapped of some sort, so that you don't get kind of stuff in there. But I think that would be so fun and so cute. And you could even leave whatever you put, whether you make this a patriotic with the flag, or maybe you have the tree, or the other one is kind of the fruit. You could have all sorts of ideas, and what you could put in there, the sky is really the limit. It's your imagination. That's the only thing that's stopping you with that. You could also stitch, say, just and they have it facing both directions. So you could decide, you wouldn't even have to flip it, but you stitch just the actual front of the truck on fabric. I think that would be a lot of fun as well. And you could, so with the designs, what I would say is if you wanted to stitch it and put one of these designs in the back, I'd probably make a copy of, say, this, and then I'd cut it out and I'd position it somehow or other on, I'd also make a copy of the truck, and then kind of cut and paste and figure out how I want it, because, you know, you'd probably want it tilted. And so you'd want to make sure you have it figured out. And then once you do, you can just stitch it like that on fabric as well. A lot of fun. So there's just a lot of things you could do with this, whether you want to keep it with the plastic canvas, go with fabric. I think using it as in kind of party decor and designs, and then maybe throwing some candy in there or some other item would be a lot of fun. Just something different, unusual that you could make for your events, and that would be a little bit different, that somebody else is not going to be able to get or have, not unless they make it. All right, so this next one here, another super cute pattern here. It's, what is this one called? Cockadoodle Dandy. So cute. Is designed by Christy Brown of the Elfin Forest. I think the only thing I would change, I do like the kind of beigey, but I was thinking, what about like a rustico, kind of that oatmeal-ish rustico sort of look? I think that would be a lot of fun. And I could see stitching this guy just by himself. Now what they did here is they repurposed jeans and they made it into a pillow. And so this is kind of like the jean pocket sort of design. So you could keep it like that, or again, like I said, I could see stitching this on its own and doing it on kind of that oatmeal or rustico. And I think that would be a lot of fun. Staying along the kind of cute patriotic themes here. Look at this adorable little bear. This is called Berry Patriotic and is designed by Jenny Barton of JB Cross Stitch. And it is super sweet. Probably one of the most backstitch heavy pieces in this issue. I don't believe there's any French knots on this one. But as you can tell, this is one of those pieces that will come alive with the backstitch. So if you are a fan of backstitch, I could totally see you having so much fun with this. What they've done, and they show it a little bit better on the page with the design, so I can't really show you that. They made it as part of bunting. So they had this kind of fabric design on both sides of the stitched one. So you could have a tiny little, 3 set of buntings. If you felt really inspired, you could stitch this a couple times and you could rotate it back and forth, maybe with some fabric on a bunting. That's dedication. But maybe that look is exactly what you're going for. So have fun with it. I think I would stitch this on a light blue myself. Okay. Next, this one is called, and let me see who, Robin Sample of October House Fiber Arts. This is called Let Freedom Ring, Let Freedom Ring. And it is a super cute long pillow there. Let me see with my notes here. What did I say about this one? Again, surprise, surprise, I could see a light blue, although if I did that, I'd have to be careful of what I used floss-wise for the word let and ring. And I would probably go a little bit darker if I had a light blue fabric. I think this will also be fun. I'm recently, like I said, discovered the how fun that kind of oatmeal rustico fabric is. So that might be fun on this as well. Kind of that, it's got that little kind of textured look or movement or wave to the fabric. So that'd be fun. The other thing I could see doing is kind of rearranging this, because it's so super cute the way it is lengthwise. It's 128 wide, so on 32/16 count, that's 8 inches. Maybe you don't want something that long wide. How about if we put the word let, freedom, and ring? We could stagger it, and then you could put on either side, say the word let's here, you could put some of these elements here, and then if the word ring is here, you could put them here. Or maybe you just do let freedom ring, and then maybe just do some up top on either side, or however you wanted to add it. I think this would be super easy. The way it's designed, you could easily play around with where the words go and then where you want to put the design elements. And they're repeating easy stitched design elements, so it would be super easy for you to change things up a little bit. And then you could play with the design size, you know, maybe make it a square if you wanted to maybe do let freedom ring and then have these above and below the words or something, depending on how you did it. So I would say go have fun with this one, and you could probably get a lot of different shapes and designs out of that. So that's a lot of fun. And, you know, makes it so versatile depending on how you would want to display it yourself. This next one here is designed by Gail Bussey, and it is Angel of the Flowers. So a very, very sweet piece there. It says, don't hurry, don't worry, and always remember to enjoy all the flowers along the way. I do like it on this shade. It's a very kind of palish blue. What does it say? Zephyr from Picture This Plus. I think the colors that it's designed with look really sweet like that. I could see, instead of this being framed, I could see it as a pillow. I think that would be a lot of fun. Maybe a bag front. Again, you know, maybe if you wanted to put this on like a canvas bag. I could also see just stitching her, and wouldn't she be a really cute little her with maybe the little flower right there as a stand-up? Wouldn't she be adorable? I think that would be super cute. Or in my case, maybe just making her as a leaner of some sort. A lot of different things you could do with this one. I don't know how wide she is. Probably too wide to be a bookmark. Maybe if you stitched that on a, you know, a very, I don't know if you went 40 count over one. I'd have to do math, but you could have a sweet kind of narrow, tall, narrow sort of piece, which would be fun too. Okay. This next piece right here, the next two are kind of sort of a similar kind of design and vibe. This one's called Breathe. And who's the designer? This is Barbie Lowe of Twisted Willow Designs. And so I believe this was just kind of like a freehand sort of sketched piece. And this is what she came up right with it. And what's really neat down here is they actually watercolored in between. I mean, think about it. When you have the stitched part, you have the outlines. So then you could go back and watercolor if you want. I could easily see, though, instead of doing black and white fabric, I could see, choose any of the, any shades, any shade of fabric you want. If you're going to do black floss, I would probably do on the paler to slight medium side. But, you know, whatever color kind of goes with, whether you were putting it out as a design or if you just have one that's a favorite, you could go anywhere along those lines. Or say you want a deep, deep fabric, maybe then do a white floss, maybe a floche of some sort, depending on the size count you're using. Depending, you know, if you had a bigger size count, but maybe you only want one strand and you want it still a little bit full, you could do that. So maybe a deep, deep, I don't know, deep, deep red, and then do it with white floss. I think that would be a lot of fun. So you could go with all sorts of ideas, changing up how you decorated it. Just go crazy, have fun. This one also kind of has that same vibe, because here we have somebody that is, you know, maybe it's called Take a Moment. And you're taking a moment just to breathe. And you could actually even, I don't know the sizing. I'd have to go, if you wanted to take the words, from the previous one and maybe put them below here and combine the two patterns, that would be a lot of fun too. On this one, I think I could see a really light green as being a lovely, again, take the inspiration from what they used as a frame. And maybe if you did words, for example, if you did that breathe there and make this more into a square, That would be kind of fun. This is essentially a full coverage stitch. Everything you see is full coverage there. Fabric showing in these other areas, but there's not one bit of back stitch. So you wouldn't have to worry about any of that if you didn't want to do any. Yeah, I don't see any back stitch whatsoever. Does it say anything about? Nope, just cross stitch. So there you go. And that artwork, excuse me, is original artwork by Lucy Lowe Designs, adapted for cross stitch. Just make sure I'm almost sure I did not tell you that. So I want to make sure I give credit. All right, this next one right here is called Bluebird's Breakfast. And it's designed by Sheila Jessup of Stuart Moore Textiles. And I believe what they did, so you only see half of it here. On a page that has the design, it's going to give you all of it. This whole section without the bird is just stitched again. So think of this as a double size. And they designed it, and it's a glasses cover. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'm not going to make a cover for my glasses, but I could see making something that's just this part of the design right here. And I think that would be really lovely as maybe like a leaner. It could be very pretty as a pillow. Anything like that, if you wanted to put it on. It's showing the glasses on top of kind of like a journal of something. That would be pretty on top of a journal cover. Anything along those lines. I think that would be a lot of fun. This next one here is Jessica Doe's, I believe, is the designer, and it is called Blueberry Harvest. So that's it right here. And I actually, when Lindy Stitch's most recent video, she actually herself stitched this, and she put it on. It's a journal that she uses to sketch all of her different designs. And so she put it on the journal front, which again is a lovely idea. Here it's showing as a flat fold. I would just do it as a leaner if I was doing it, or I would put it in the scrapbook as well. I really think this is pretty stitched the way it's stitched, although I think it would be really pretty pale blue. This one is a little bit more gray. It's called Twilight Blue, but in this light, it looks gray to me. I might do like something a little bit brighter, but pale blue. I could also see picking up some of these colors and doing a very pale mauve. I think that would be really pretty. Or a very pale green would also look lovely, because I think all of these colors would go nicely with a very pale green. So you have a lot of options there and lots of different ways you can stitch it. This next one here is designed by Jessie Schofield. It's the artwork's by Jessie Schofield, and it was adapted for cross stitch by Jessie, and it is called Waterfall Fishing. So it is a full coverage piece. And with this one, there is a small amount of backstitch on it. So that would just be something to take into account, but not as much as the beach one at the very beginning that you saw. There's a lot of whites and grays, so you'd have to be ready for that as well. But it is a lovely outdoor scene. Don't they have, isn't there something where you can follow the bears and I don't remember what that's called, but I've seen people show on Instagram when they follow the different bears and they choose their favorite bear. So it kind of reminds me of that. If you're a fan of that, that might be fun. All right, so this next piece right here is called A Silent Expression of Art, and it is designed by Kara Brown of the Elfin Forest. I really do like that light green, and what really works with it is this is a chameleon. So keeping it along the same shade as the shades of this guy right here really make a lot of sense. And how these colors are designed, you've got really pale, medium, dark. So I think that would really work. Now I could also see if you didn't want kind of maybe this round part, and if you wanted a bit more rectangular, let's see if I can find it. So if we take this flower, we put it here, and we have here and here. You'd have a visual triangle of your flowers, and then you'd have the chameleon part right here. And so the design element would work, and then you could just do it in a different shape. I believe here, which is really kind of cool, they wrapped the hoop in fabric, I believe it was. And so again, you can pick a color that's complementary and do that with it as well. It also would be a lot of fun as a pillow. I think that'd be fun, whether you kept it as whole or kept it a bit more rectangular, or even just a frame if you'd prefer. It's really kind of fun. I don't know. There's something about the guy. And it's pretty blocky sort of stitching. So I might just have to do that one. The chameleon's going to need a name, though. So we have to come up with a good name. All right, so this next one is designed by Charlene Howard Blank of Tranquility. Ooh, that one's good. Designs. And it's called Rough Life. And so obviously it's stitched and put on something that has dog treats, which is really cool. Obviously you could stitch it without saying give more treats, and maybe just bring the border and do the border down here across. You could do it even without the It's a Rough Life if you wanted just the dog, or you could do the dog with the hearts and do the border around that way, because it is a sweet little border and pretty easy to stitch. And I would say I would probably use maybe a pale fabric just to kind of shake it up a little bit. The dog is stitched full, so it's not like to worry about that. And the dog is back stitched. So whatever color fabric you used, you'd be able to see the dog just fine because he is back stitched. All right, now we're on the last two. The first one of the last two is the Halloween piece that is in every issue. And this one's called Jack-O-Lantern Jumble. And it looks like they made it kind of out of a pincushion. So how fun is that? This is designed by Kim Beamish. And there are 1, 2, 3, let me see. Would this be called, actually it's a biscornu. Yeah, it's a biscornu because of the center. 1, 2, so 12. There's 15 different jack-o'-lantern designs, it looks like, of faces. And it tells you how to figure out how to stitch them all. How cute would that be? And it's going to be hard to visualize this. So you've got all these different jack-o'-lantern designs, right? So go with a really fun, bright orange fabric. That really works. And you've got kind of a back stitch square around them. Stitch each of these singly. And Karen from the Stitching Owl talks about making lollipops out of things. I used to do that with my kids' Valentines when they would give them in school. We'd make designs and do kind of a lollipop top. But basically stitch this part, and then whether you use actual lollipop sticks, you know, like the white sticks or some other type of stick, and you could have them sticking in somewhere or other. And how fun would that be as like a tabletop display or design, or however you wanted to do it. So if you didn't want to do a biscornu, there's lots of different ways you could choose. And again, 15 different kind of jack-o'-lantern faces. So you could have a lot of fun with that. Or maybe you pick 4 and you stitch them in 4 squares, and then you have like a pillow, just a, you know, regular pillow or a flat fold or anything like that. So there's a lot of different ways you could go with that. I thought that was a lot of fun. And the very last piece is the Christmas stitch. And this one is stitched, designed by Vanessa Timko, and it is called Ice Skates. Now this is stitched on canvas, plastic canvas. And obviously you stitch it twice, and then they've got it so that you're hanging it kind of like how you'd hang your ice skates over a tree branch. I was trying to figure out how I would do this if I wanted to do it on fabric. Certainly I could stitch a single ice skate. I don't know if a single ice skate has the same look, kind of impact as when you have the 2. So I'm not sure how I would do that. But if you wanted to, you could certainly just stitch a single ice skate and put it on fabric. And again, it could be a pillow or some other item type of thing. Maybe on like maybe on a plastic canvas, on a canvas bag. If you had somebody who was an ice skater or something, And you could do it along those lines too. But I would say I could definitely see doing it with the plastic canvas to have this kind of double look though, which is a lot of fun. So that is the magazine in a nutshell. If we go to, I love this where we always have the ending pages. This gives you all of them at a quick glance. So if you wanted to go to a specific one, you can do that. And then I always like to see what's new from Mill Hill. And they have some fun Mill Hill ones that they're showing. I really like this flamingo. And then we have a bunch of Debbie Mum designs for Mill Hill that are Halloween related. So that is it. Speaking of Halloween, I've started to see where online places are allowing, I don't know if they're actually starting to do pre-orders for the Halloween issue. I don't think it's coming until June. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's out there. So I've seen the cover. I'm sure you've seen the cover as well. When it comes to me, I will do a flip through and we'll see what's what for Halloween. But we are still in summer. We have not even started summer yet. I am ridiculously excited for summer. I'm not ready to give that up yet. Maybe I'll stitch another season, but I want my summer. So what did you think? He needs a name. Needs a name. What do you think? Should we stitch the chameleon? Should we stitch some of those other pieces together? What ideas did you have that maybe I didn't think of for some of these pieces? Let me know what your favorite is, what you might stitch, what you might do the same or different, or any sort of ideas like that. I love to get your inspiration as well. But I hope you liked this flip through, and let's get stitching some of these pieces in the magazine here. And until next time, happy stitching.